Hey everyone, this is former NFL running back and kick returner and NFL record holder for all-purpose yards in a game, Glyn Milburn. You're watching the Sconni Sports Show.
Hey everybody, welcome to another brand new episode of the Sconni Sports Show. I'm your host, MD Lovelace.
Price.
Jeff, we had some good and some ugly last week. Which one do you want to start with?
I always start with the bad first.
All right, let's get the Packer news out of the way. Holy cow, what a week. I think the quote of the week from everybody was, holy crap, did they play down?
Yeah, it was pretty terrible. I was getting so frustrated. I couldn't believe it. I don't know if it almost seems like Patton was kind of playing scared. I don't know.
Yeah, with a rookie quarterback that was making his, first or second career start. It's like, go.
So, all of a sudden, that last drive, they're blitzing and they're getting to the quarterback. It's like, where was that all game?
Yeah. I don't know, you and I were talking during the game. It seems like the sense of urgency by our defense is just not there.
Yeah.
And that's multiple sources saying that too. It seems like, I don't know if Pettin's maybe lost the defensive side of the locker room. It's just players playing down. I mean, the Smith brothers, like I was texting you, it seems like, with Preston Smith walking over to make some plays or some DBs able to make a play, but due to the lack of depth and so many guys getting hurt every game, it feels like lately on that side of the ball, they're not as going to throw the body around like maybe the guys of the 80s and 90s did.
Yeah, it's definitely frustrating to see. I know I've been frustrated all year. It's like just something. I don't know what that Preston Smith and coverage crap is.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that. If I were a D coordinator, I would throw at him all day. Or
Yeah.
offensive coordinator. I mean, I see that matchup every time, especially with the running back. I mean, you get, like a Glyn Milburn in his prime, our guest coming up here shortly, he would eat him alive. There's no holds up to that. So
rolls or anybody. I mean, the guy's just too big. The body type is not there for a guy to be out in coverage.
Short curl to flat or, hook curl zone maybe, but having him 20 yards down the field is just stupid.
Yes.
It's asking for us to just get destroyed. Luckily, our run defense is just so horrible. We don't have to worry about it passing.
I'm kind of hoping, I don't know, I'm kind of thinking they need a scheme change and maybe go after Jim Leonard. That'd be nice.
Yeah, so we saw a little bit of it was supposed to be a big help, Christian Kirksey coming back to kind of help fill some gaps. Not a huge stat line from him coming back, but it definitely seemed like they respected the game a little bit more, at least in the middle, which was a nice change, but at the same time, we still got eaten alive left and right.
Yeah, it seemed like he kind of stuck his nose in there a little more than like Barnes or whatever was doing from week to week, but yeah, we'll see. Maybe he just needs to get a couple games under his belt.
Yeah, I mean, first game back, you can't expect a lot. Speaking of a first game back, Alan Lazard cleared off of injured reserve this week, so let's hope he can have a huge, huge game this week as well.
Yeah, I'm hoping so too. It'd be nice to get him back, and I don't know. It kind of seems like they might ease him into it, kind of like the Aaron Jones thing the first week. We'll see.
Or Aaron Jones killed it his first week back, so if we can have
Yeah. They're going to need Aaron Jones this week, I think. The number one defense of the Colts, man. That's a wicked D.
Yeah, it's weird because you haven't heard much about the Colts this year. You know what I mean? They're not, the number one team on everybody's radar, but like you alluded to, the number one defense in the league, it's not there for no reason. So,
yeah, definitely. The linebackers, the defensive line, DeForest Buckner, like they're going to come after Rodgers quick, and it's going to be right. That's what worries me a little bit because when Rodgers gets a little pressure, he kind of panics a little bit. We'll see.
Hey, Jeff, I have a question for you real quick before we move on. How much beer with $105 million asking for a friend?
What?
I said, I was wondering how much beer you can buy with $105 million. I was asking for a friend.
I don't know.
Doc Tiari from the Green Bay Packers is about to find out the highest paid line in the NFL. Not a bad gig. So case you guys missed it, the beer chug obviously made famous with Aaron Rodgers at the Milwaukee Bucks game a couple seasons ago. Yeah, that man got paid and paid well.
Yeah, highest paid lineman ever in the game. So, I mean, that's saying a lot.
Yeah, you definitely. You think about the greats that have been through the game in the offensive line, the Orlando Paces,
Top.
there's been tons and tons of guys, Willie Rolfs of the world and everyone else. But yeah, to hear David Bakhtiari is just kind of you take it for granted.
Yeah. I know they were talking, I read something. It was something about Ted Thompson when he went to his pro day. Again, it was a Colorado game where he played. He was saying that he was asking who the best player on the field was. And everybody kept saying David Bakhtiari. And then they went through the game, and it was continuously David Bakhtiari, like best player on the field. So, I mean, to get him in the 5th round it seems like a pretty good steal.
Worked out well for him. I mean, it sucks not getting your name called as fast on draft day, but who's laughing now,
Yeah, exactly.
So your favorite topic of all, Jeff, the Wisconsin Badgers win last week. Holy cow. Can we just safe to say Michigan is now just done?
Yeah, Harbaugh has lost that team by a lot.
I don't know what else you can do. You have, one of the most storied franchises, in all of college football. You have one of the best, game atmosphere stadiums. You have the coolest uniforms being sponsored by Jordan. I mean, what else could you want? You guys are 1 or 2 and whatever. I mean, it's just.
And a lot of their games have not looked pretty. I don't know. It's not the same Michigan.
No, definitely has changed over the last few years. So, I don't know. I say they go get a Lou Holtz or try and lure away Nick Saban and make a run for it because, Harbaugh is not doing his thing or doing it due justice down there at all right now. So
certain guys that just are made to be coordinators, and he might be one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. He hasn't had too much luck, on the different levels as coaching. His brother's doing his thing out there, obviously, and
John, with the Ravens.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. I mean, you got both Gruden boys and they're doing well, but then it comes to the Harbaughs and it's like one is hot, the other's not, all throughout. So it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, definitely.
So your Badgers, man, holy cow, they put a whooping.
Yeah, I love that Mertz kid, man. I know he didn't play the best, but I mean, what do you expect from 3 weeks off?
Yeah, I mean, I'll take it, man. How many points? 48 points or whatever? I mean,
48 or 49.
Yeah, you can't argue that, though. That's a hell of a 3-week bye. I mean, they came out firing on all cylinders, so.
I mean, the next kid up at running back, that Berger kid's going to be good.
It's interesting talking to some of the guys this week, current and former players of the Badgers, and just amazing to see. They're just like 3 weeks off. I mean, you get time to get healthy and get in sync, but yeah, nobody expected that big of a game. Everyone, I think, around the world was talking 21-17 maybe. And you get a 48-11, which is such a weird score blowout. So, yeah.
Definitely.
I guess Vegas paid somebody well that night if they made that bet, but I don't think anybody was thinking that. So I definitely wasn't, but it's good to see. Now the big question, can Paul Chris and the Badgers keep it going? That's always been the stigma is we get 1 or 2 games and all of a sudden we just wet the bed and that's about it for a while. And
it's the game coming up. Northwestern always trips them up all the time, no matter where they play, all the time.
I have to run across the parking lot and make my bet with Lancaster before the week is over.
Yeah.
Bet some spotted cows or something on it. Who knows? But
yeah.
Man, we haven't had spotted cow on the show in a long time. It's time to get those guys back. But holidays, man, we got a busy month coming up in December.
I'm still living in the summer.
I went to Sigma Water tonight. So, crazy month coming up. I think we might take next week off, Jeff. It's Thanksgiving week. So I think we'll give ourselves a week off and then get an action-packed, power through the end of the year. So,
birthday next week, too.
Got 4 birthdays coming up in the month of December. So we are nonstop. So So trying to find time to film shows is going to be interesting. We got a 13th birthday coming up with my oldest, and then we got the little man turning 7. We got mine somewhere in there, and we got the other half. So it's
I'm the 25th.
Are you? You're the same as my brother. That's right. So yeah, I got the oldest brother too, December 25th birthday. So
I'm this month, next week.
I was gonna say, wait a minute. Yeah, my months are all off. Yeah, we have to get you your mug, Jeff, if you remember it.
The what?
The mug that you liked. We were at the Moonshine Distillery. Remember?
Mug. What mug was that?
It was not purposely spelled incorrectly with sass.
Oh God.
Yeah, New was saying that this week. We got to go get you your mug. So. So for all you guys that want to, for $2, you can give Jeff his birthday spankings. We'll set up a time and COVID-friendly location, and you can spank. So
just mask up.
just booties, and yeah, it's crazy. So speaking of that, got to give a little shout out to Bath Fitter. If anybody's looking for a new tub or shower renovation here in the Northeast Wisconsin or even Southern Wisconsin area, let me know because we would love to help you out. We just had a cool customer review I posted on my personal page the other day. We had a customer of mine I saw out in Greenville, Appleton area, whose mom was trying to get out of a nursing home. They had an old fiberglass tub. Obviously, mom couldn't make it over it, so we put in a nice new flat style floor with the collapsible retainer so you can run over it with a wheelchair, and turned out well. The lady was in tears, and it was the best review our company said they've had so far this year. So would love to help people out with that. So shameless plug, but Bath Fitter. So send me a message through the Sconni Sports Show page, and we'll take care of you. Sorry, I haven't mentioned them all year. I kind of figured I probably should. It's a little slower now, but if people mention me this week, we can still get you in before Christmas. So if you are still, in fact, hosting the holidays and need either a tub and shower conversion or a tub over tub or something like that, let me know. We'll take care of you. Other news this week in sports, Jeff. What do we got? The Bucks. Holy cow! I didn't recognize them this week. Making some changes, cleaning house. Feels like.
Well, we can't get too far ahead of it. They one of the trades fell through. It was just reported tonight.
Which one was that? I missed it.
Bogdanovic.
Okay.
The guy from the Kings. Apparently, he did not give the okay to get traded to the Bucks.
Nice.
So he's going to test restricted free agency instead of getting traded. So, I mean, they're trying. They have until tomorrow, I think, 2 or 3 o'clock to get a deal done with Bogdanovic, hopefully to get him to Milwaukee. But they have to come up with contract extension and such and whatever. And it doesn't sound good.
Well, Jeff, we're going to cut that conversation short because our guest is here. So coming up next, we are going to be joined by former NFL and Green Bay Packer running back Glyn Milburn. So we'll be right back with him. All right, everybody, we are back with a special guest. Jeff, you and I have the privilege of interviewing a former NFL running back, spent some time with the Bears. I see he has a jersey in the background coming up. You guys will see it here in just a second. It's time with the Green Bay Packers, the Denver Broncos as well. So let's just bring him in. We'll get going from there. So, ladies and gentlemen, Glyn Milburn joining us tonight.
Glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me on tonight.
Of course. So you were a busy man. We had to wait till after the election time was over. You were You were running ragged, it sounded like. Can you fill us in on what you had going on?
Sure. Well, for the last 6 to 7 years, I've been a registered lobbyist in the state of California, which allows me to work with different groups, different clients, but I also run election campaigns for either candidates or ballots in the state of California. So we were pretty busy. Our firm has about 14 or so clients, and we're involved in about 6 different city elections. And so we were pretty busy all the way up to November 3rd with delivering mail, coming up with creative commercials and social media, all the things that you see during campaign season. We're partly responsible for if they're in the Southern California or coming in your mailbox or on your phones, tablets, or on your computers.
So you're the guy to blame. No, I'm just kidding. We're here. And they say running backs, they don't really get a lot of talk for being pretty smart guys, but so far it seems like, the running back group definitely knows their stuff and definitely has the business sense of mind. So it's good to see.
Well, I think running backs have the unique ability to capture a lot of information. We're called upon to do a lot of different things. So I'm kind of a Swiss Army knife with our firm to be able to kind of fit in where it's needed.
So we see the Bears jersey in the back. So I think that kind of answers my question of what was your favorite stay here in the NFL. So it's okay. You don't have to appease the Wisconsin folks.
Well, I'm in my son's room. Full disclosure, I'm in my son's room because everyone is at home working remotely. And if I turn to my left, you probably see a Bronco helmet and a Bronco football that's in a case. So,
nice.
I would say, to answer your question, both Denver and Chicago were my 2 favorite organizations to play for. Chicago being a great city, a great fan base. My last year there, we had success. And, Denver obviously has had success throughout the years, playing with great players. Both organizations were wonderful to play for. And I felt like if I had to look back, those were the fondest memories of my NFL career.
Sure.
It was definitely interesting to see that you started, was it Detroit, then to Chicago, or then to Green Bay, then to Chicago, all within the division. That was kind of neat to hear.
Right. Well, I played my first 3 years in Denver, but then I kind of made my way throughout the NFC Central Division. I thought I was going to go to Tampa Bay at one point too,
Oh, no.
So that would have made it all the teams. But it's a business, and very, very many people are lucky to have the opportunity that I had. And when you get traded, I got traded 4 times in my career, and so you're used to finding a new environment, a new city, a new group of teammates, and so that's just part of it. Unlike college, you get to be with guys for a long time. In the NFL, it's about business. It could mean that you had a great year. I had a Pro Bowl year my 3rd year in Denver and got traded to Detroit the next year. I had a great year in Detroit, get traded again to Chicago and played 4 years there. So you have very little control, which I've seen. But you look back on it and you have great memories for every situation.
Being traded, can you walk us through how that goes? Like, how do they go? How do they let you know, like, the process and stuff?
Well, it's unique in different parts. So after my 3rd season, I had a pretty good 2 years in Denver as a 3rd down back. In my 3rd year, we drafted Terrell Davis. Mike Shanahan was the new coach. And Mike Shanahan pulls me in the office and says, look, we like Terrell. He gives us a different dimension. We want you to come in on 3rd down. We'd love you to return kicks. We think you do really well. And at that point in my career, I really hadn't done a lot of kick returning, but I took what he said to heart. I wasn't happy about it, but I ended up becoming a Pro Bowl kick returner that year. And what ended up happening was I started getting attention from a lot of teams. My agent started calling me and saying, hey, the Broncos would like to re-sign you, but I think, I'm hearing from other teams that want to pay you a lot more than Denver's willing to sign you for. And so it became a business decision. That particular trade, I wasn't involved in any of the conversations. I let my agent handle the conversations with Denver and the other teams, and I ended up going to Detroit because they just offered me a better deal than any other team.
Definitely.
So, but when I got traded from Detroit to actually Green Bay, who then traded me to Chicago, those were situations where I had no idea. I was ready to start the season in Green Bay. I thought I had a great preseason, and then I get a call from Reggie McKenzie, something like 10 o'clock at night, and it goes something like this: "Hey, Glenn, I hope you're doing all right. They just traded you to Chicago." I said, and I thought, you're not part of the organization. You're calling me. So, it was one of those situations where I think it was just kind of a last minute decision where they felt like they could get more value. And, for me, I was disappointed. I thought I was going to a Super Bowl caliber team, to Chicago, who at that point was not. But, you learn to live with the business side of it. And I ended up, flying out the next day. They shipped all my things from Green Bay to Chicago, and there you go.
Crazy.
I mean, you're a commodity. A professional athlete is, look at the NBA right now. They're having to make those same decisions where teams are trading players. And, does Drew Holiday want to go from New Orleans to Milwaukee? I don't know, but he has very little say in it because he's under contract.
That's what Mike and I were just talking off air. The Bucks traded for that Bogdanovic or whatever from the Kings.
Yeah, Bogdanovic.
All of a sudden,
and Drew Holiday. He went to school around my area. I'm in LA, and so that I knew the Drew Holiday part of it more because he's a UCLA guy.
UCLA, yeah.
But yeah, these guys don't have much control over that trade. Now, if they're a free agent, different story. They can pick and choose. And, sadly, I never had that opportunity to kind of pick and choose where I went. But,
was that on purpose that you seem to hit the different NFC North teams? And it's weird to see they would trade within the division so much, considering like when John Randall was going to be a free agent, they said not a chance. He's never going to stay in the division. Or Ndamukong Suh and some of these guys that have hit it, within the division, they don't want to see him there. So it's weird to see that during your era, it was almost constant. It seemed like everybody was going to the Bears or to the Lions at some point. So.
Yeah, it was strange. And I think partly because I was a specialist. I was a kick returner primarily during those years. And some teams really struggled. And when I went to Detroit from Denver, the Lions were one of the worst kick return teams in the entire league. And so I was filling a key need that they had. They had a guy named Mel Gray for many years who was great, but they let him go into free agency, and then they had a year where they struggled. So I came in as a replacement for that. And then Chicago, the same thing. I went from Detroit to Green Bay. Green Bay, it didn't work out for some reason. Maybe it was my salary. Maybe it was something else. But Chicago, who struggled at the time when I came in, I ended up having some good years there, and ended up going to another Pro Bowl in Chicago. And I think largely because they had needs that, I got to return the ball a lot because they were kicking off, it seemed like, every time in Chicago that year.
Oh. So how would you walk us through your brief stay here in Green Bay? What did you think of the blink and you missed town, in the smallest NFL market? How did that compare to your other stops along the way?
Well, again, fortunate, I was able to play for a team like Denver coming out first 3 years. Denver's a larger market, obviously, than Green Bay, but the organization is very similar. They have a very rabid fan base. There are no real threats of team loyalty or fan loyalty in Denver. The next NFL team is several states over from them, so they don't have that issue. And I think Green Bay fits in that same mold where they are the professional team of the region, and so they have a very loyal fan base. When I got there, they welcomed me with open arms. I ended up getting an apartment there. I lived in the off season partly, there. They have a great facility, great training, lots of cheese. You go to the supermarket, they know who you are. It's there. You stand out like a sore thumb in Green Bay when you're a Green Bay Packer. But there's benefits and there's drawbacks. The interesting thing going through the first couple of weeks of training camp was great because they have a tradition there where they have little kids with bikes, and they take you from the locker room to the practice field and you hitch rides on their bikes. And that's kind of a tradition they have there in Green Bay. It's unlike any other place I've been where they have that. So I thought that was neat. We actually went to Tokyo in the preseason for that particular year. So we didn't have a long training camp. And that was cool because I ended up getting to play in the preseason game and won a Harley Davidson motorcycle for being the most valuable player of the game. That was pretty cool.
Oh, nice. You still have the motorcycle?
I ended up selling. Good question, because I sold it to my teammate Joe Andruzzi, who was a lineman for the Packers. I sold it. I did a little arbitrage on my way from Tokyo back to Green Bay, and made about $16,500.
Nice.
Nice.
Not a bad game.
Not a bad game.
Now, you guys had some of the players come in from overseas for that, wasn't there? There was a couple of players that came over during that exchange, which was kind of cool. I remember because they would always have their video cameras out, and it was like the coolest thing ever, but none of them could speak a lick of English, really. So it was
right,
because they had their interpreter with them the whole time, and they were participating in drills. How unique of an experience was that? Because you don't ever see that.
Yeah, it's really cool to have that experience. I got to do that twice, actually 3 times in my career. My rookie year, I believe, or my second year when I was with Denver, we went to Barcelona and played the Raiders in the preseason. So that was cool because I could speak Spanish, and it was great to be able to go to a country that really didn't understand American football that much, even though they have the World League that had just kind of started. But it was still relatively new, and it wasn't like soccer is over there in Europe. And then I went to Tokyo the next year with the Broncos in preseason. And so going to Tokyo when I was with the Packers was the second time. And so I was familiar. I get on the subway, you could see the city, and I wasn't afraid. In these preseason preseason, you're thinking about making the team, and you're also, you have practices, but they do have some downtime where you're able to kind of go out and see the town. And I took full advantage of it. And really, their sport's crazy in Tokyo. That was great. But to answer your question, they have a professional football league in Tokyo. So Japanese players actually, maybe a week to 10 days prior to the game, they flew to Green Bay. They had an offensive player and a defensive player, and they practiced with the team. Now, sadly, the guys in Tokyo in Japan are not the biggest guys. So they brought in a fullback, and they brought in, a linebacker or something like that. And
He was tiny. I remember that.
Some of these guys were looking forward to going against the Japanese players just because of the size difference. But the fun thing for them is when we actually played the game in Tokyo, when those guys got in the game, it was like Elvis Presley just arrived. The crowd knew the names and they knew the players. And so, it was a great kind of ambassadorship the NFL did with the league over there in Tokyo.
That's neat.
So if you had to go over one of your best NFL memories, Glenn, how would you rate your top three? Let's go with that.
Oh, okay. Let me think. So, top three. One of them was when I was in Denver, my first ever game. You always remember your first, and so I played in the Meadowlands against the Jets, my first game, and I knew I was going to play. I was a kick returner, punt returner, and a third down back, and I actually got to score of my first touchdown in my first game
Wow.
for the Broncos. Those are all memories of that. Obviously, we won the game. You know, everything kind of worked out according to script. We came back and won the game. I scored a touchdown, had a good game. You know, parents got to see it on television. They weren't there, but they got to watch it on television because Denver was on television. So all those things were great. So that was my first experience. My next probably top experience was my third year in Denver. I was still our third down back. Our starter was Terrell Davis, great player, Hall of Fame running back. He gets hurt in the first quarter, and I have to go in as the backup to play the entire game. But I'm also the punt returner, kick returner as well. And I ended up having just an incredible series of plays and yardage that I looked up at the end of the game. My teammates were shaking me and pointing me to the scoreboard and telling me, you know, Glyn Milburn just set a Bronco record, but it's still a quarter to go in the game. So I still have to keep playing. And by the end of the game, they told me I'd set an NFL record for the most all-purpose yards in a single game. So that was a great memory. And then my third highest memory was probably the game when I was with the Bears, where we played the Green Bay Packers in Green Bay immediately after the death of Walter Payton. I had gotten to meet Walter Payton when I got to Chicago. He was a great guy, just such a humble, such a nice man, and just was completely shocked of hearing the news. And then to go to Green Bay and for us to win. I ended up scoring a touchdown that game, and but to see the blocked kick for us to preserve our win was almost kind of a supernatural occurrence in our minds, that maybe Walter was looking down on us and gave us a couple of extra, feet on that block. So
Definitely.
those are three top ones for me.
So with your different stops, walk me through the different coaching styles that you kind of ran into, and what were some of the things you kind of liked or didn't like within those different stops with the staff itself?
So when I came out of college, I came out of Stanford, and we ran the West Coast offense. In fact, my two college head coaches were Dennis Green and Bill Walsh.
Wow.
So I was very well steeped in the West Coast offense, and that probably helped me a lot because I understood multiple positions in the West Coast offense. The running back plays multiple positions: fullback, halfback. You can line up in the slot, and the plays are interchangeable. So when I came into the league in Denver, Jim Fossil, Wade Phillips was the head coach, but Jim Fossil, who later became a head coach for the Giants, he was our offensive coordinator, and he loved to throw to the running back because the whole offense is predicated on getting the ball out quick and letting the receivers and running backs, run with the ball. Almost a short pass is an extended running play. So those were great years because I ended up catching a lot of balls. My second year, I caught 77 passes out the backfield, which at that time was a team record. So I really enjoyed the learning of the West Coast offense because I think it helped me to be valuable when I went on to other teams. Even though I didn't play a ton, I could go into a situation and play because I knew the system. Similar to a backup quarterback that plays in a particular system is valuable to an offensive coordinator because they know that they don't have to coach him up to learn an entirely new system. So that was really In Denver, those 3 years were great because Shanahan ran the West Coast offense as well. When I went to Detroit, when I got traded there, that was a completely different situation. Uh, the Lions ran a more of a run and shoot. They had Barry Sanders as the single back. They didn't utilize a fullback. So I was primarily a kick returner my first year. And then they converted me to kind of a wide receiver, slot receiver. And I did a little bit of that my second year there. Um, so that really didn't apply. But then when I went to Chicago, then there was a little more of a West Coast flair to their system. And I got to play a little bit more as a running back there as well. So that's kind of the trajectory of my career and how maybe the system that I was in was beneficial for me. And even in Green Bay, Mike Holmgren was a Bill Walsh disciple. He ran a West Coast offense, and that's probably why they traded for me from Detroit, was because I was familiar with that offensive system.
So what was the dynamic like in the running backs room with a guy like Barry Sanders? Were you kind of because he was quite a bit, he was towards the end of the career, I think, right? When you were coming in, or should have been?
Yeah, well, he played about three. I mean, I was there 2 seasons. He was there, and I think he played maybe 1 or 2 more seasons after that. So he didn't play a long time, but Barry was a different guy. He was very quiet, very aloof, didn't say a whole lot. He was a guy that was highly introverted, but once it was game day, you give him the ball, he just turned into a different person. It was almost like he turned all of his aggression into just running the ball and trying not to be tackled. And he was just amazing to watch on the turf in Detroit. He was my favorite teammate to watch as a teammate, just to see, wow, he made the entire defense look silly on that play.
Yeah, you've seen it off too much.
Yeah, sure.
So how would you rate the quarterbacks that you had a chance to play with during your time? Because you've had obviously quite a few, and obviously some guys that went on to some pretty big names.
Yeah, I've played with a lot. I don't think I had the same quarterback any year except for my first 3 years in Denver. Obviously, John Elway being a Hall of Fame quarterback, one of the best ever to do it. He was great. He was steady, someone that you knew was going to be there, make the right decision, calm in the huddle, calmed everyone else down in the huddle. You know, I was the guy in the huddle during the 2-minute drills, before halftime, at the end of the game. So, you know, that's all about execution and just being ready for whatever adjustment that John is making. So he was great to play with. He threw the ball really well. We played with great players: Shannon Sharp, Terrell Davis, obviously. McCaffrey. Yeah, we just had great players, and you know, that was the fortunate situation I was in. When I went to Detroit, we had good players as well. I mean, Barry Sanders, but our quarterback was Scott Mitchell. He was a guy who was signed from Miami at the time. He was a big quarterback, a lot of size, but he was a left-handed thrower. And you know, we threw for a lot of yards, but we didn't win a lot of games. And so that was a situation where you sometimes wonder why a team that had seemingly a lot of talent wasn't able to get over the hump. Our first year the coach was Wayne Fonts, and we went 5-11, I believe, and he was fired, and that was a perpetual kind of situation in Detroit. It seemed like Wayne Fonts would get off to this horrible start, and then he would find a way to muster up a winning streak at the end and save his job. And when I came in that first year, it didn't work that way. And so they fired him and brought in Bobby Ross, who was a complete opposite type of coach. He was very much like a Tom Coughlin, came from a very disciplined structure. Everything was scripted. Everything was orderly. We had a training camp, a very hard training camp, a lot of rules. And I think that culture shock really changed the organization. The first year it worked because everyone was bought in that first year. We went to the playoffs that first year. And then the years after that, the team struggled. And I think there was some revolt. I was gone after that first year under Bobby Ross. I was traded. But that particular year, it seemed like it didn't, the team didn't warm up to that style for the long term. And then when I was in Green Bay, obviously I wasn't there very long, but Holmgren, they had just come off a Super Bowl loss against the Broncos. And so they were still excited, or actually they came off a Super Bowl win.
They're coming off the win.
They were going back. They went back that year. So it was an exciting time for them. They said, look, we have pretty much the team intact. The pieces are in place to make another run. And so for me, that was exciting to be a part of that type of energy. But for some reason, I wasn't part of that situation. I got traded to the Bears, and that first year was a 5-11 year in the last year of Dave Wannstedt, who came from Dallas. And so that ship had sailed, and unfortunately I had a great individual year that year, but the team struggled and there was a new coach, and Dave Giron ended up becoming the head coach there, and he was there for the next 4 years. I was there for 3 of his years. And we rebuilt and had moderate success, as successful as you can call the NFC Central at the time, which it was the Packers and everyone else. You had 2 good teams. You had Packers who were the Super Bowl contenders with Favre, and then you had Tampa, who was known as a non-offensive defensive juggernaut, right? They're kind of like the Baltimore Ravens of the day. They had great defensive scheme with Tony Dungy, but they were always kind of in a nail-biter game. And so for us to make the playoffs, we were kind of a wild card-ish team. So those were the coaches that I played with. And then when I went to San Diego my last year, Mike, I'm just escaping the head coach because he was only there for that year, and that was it. He was the old Oregon State coach.
Oh, sure. Yep.
I know what you're talking about.
It's gonna drive Jeff nuts. He's my
yeah, Mike something, I think. So
let's see. Yeah, keep going. You're good. It'll come to me.
I should know that, but I don't have a lot of Chargers stuff. Although the head coach now I'm a friend with. So
nice.
Okay. Nice. Anthony Lynn.
Anthony Lynn was my teammate in Denver. So
yeah, that guy. I mean, that's somebody I would want to play for. He seems like he's an intense guy, like player's coach.
Yeah, he is. We actually had dinner. We had dinner his first year down in Orange County, and just a great guy. Wants to do well. It's tough this year for him because they've had so many tough losses. They've lost 7 games by less than 1 touchdown, single-digit wins and single-digit losses. And so it's tough because, in this league, there's so many, coaches that everything is about win now, and he's in his 3rd year. And, when you have those losses start to stack up, it begins to be an untenable situation for the organization to be forced to make a change. And I hope it doesn't happen for him. I hope he gets a chance to keep it going. But, you always kind of question, well, are they going to make a move with the wins and losses the way they are?
So I'll be the first to admit I thought Herbert wasn't going to be a very good NFL quarterback, but that kid can play.
He's the real deal, right? Yeah. He's big. He had all the intangibles, but it's kind of like sometimes when you play in a certain offense in college, you don't really get to showcase your skills because, Oregon, Mario Cristobal, he was a teammate of mine in Denver as well. He was a lineman from Miami. And they like to run the ball. They don't really like to throw the ball all the way downfield. They have kind of a short, conservative offense built on the offensive line, which is
Yeah.
so you don't really see he didn't play in a Texas Tech type of offense where you're just throwing the ball all over the place.
Yeah.
And, thankfully he's able to showcase what he can do in the pros. And
Definitely.
He's surprised a lot of people.
Yeah. I was one of them.
Yeah.
So, Glyn, we're going to throw you on the spot here. If you had to pick your favorite player to ever come out of Stanford, besides yourself, of course, who would it be?
Oh, gosh. I would say Christian McCaffrey because I play with his dad, and I was so impressed with him when he came in. He was kind of he was a great player out of the state of Colorado in high school. But when he got to Stanford, he was not expected to do what he did. And I went to speak to the team during one of their regular season games, and he was just such a nice guy at the time. And to have the great year that he had when he broke literally every record of mine, and then broke a lot of national records that his junior year, I believe, or his sophomore year. I can't remember exactly which year it was. But the year that he came in second in the Heisman was what is the year that I'm talking about, where he had just incredible all-purpose year. It was like, wow, this guy is the real deal. And he's got the right attitude. He's a hard worker. He's got the right attitude. He's humble. He doesn't show off. He just gets it done. And he's an exciting player to watch for fans as well. And he's delivered in the pros. So
I think it's a similar situation to, like you said, his dad that you alluded to. I mean, I got to meet, we were sitting by a buddy of ours played for, I think it was the Broncos at the time. No, who would it have been? No, it was the Raiders. They were in town when his son Max was playing in the league.
Right.
We're waiting on a friend of ours, Leon Orr, that played out of Florida, and we're sitting waiting by the buses. All of a sudden, this guy bumps into me by accident. I look up, I'm like, oh, looks like Ed McCaffrey. I'm sitting there, I'm like, you're freaking Ed McCaffrey. Like, at the time, there was never really a standout receiver, at that point. He was one of the guys that you could throw the ball any sort of way, and that dude would just come down with it. I mean, the work ethic on him, and like you said, not a showboat, very class act, and he was great. He's like, yeah, if you want a picture, whatever. I was like, okay.
He was great. He was great. Great. They called him Easy Ed in college. And, he was a guy that you throw the ball up and he would always make the catch. And, he produced some great kids too. All of his kids are college players and
definitely
pros. So
good genetics. And the guys joke around. I mean, Max, when he was here, talked a lot with him, and sounds like their mom had a lot to do with it too. It wasn't just Ed at home. It was mom too. It was definitely she
was an all-star. She was a great soccer player at Stanford as well. So they definitely get it from both sides, both gene pools, so to speak. So
now you mentioned you have obviously some family of your own. Do you have any high hopes for any of your children falling into that path, or is it just kind of sports is like a secondary thing for them?
Well, as a parent, I married a 14-time track and field All-American in college. So my wife is more decorated than I am in terms of her sport. She's a USA team member in her own right. So we have the genetics on our side to a certain degree.
Sure.
But again, as parents, you don't want to put the pressure on your kids to fall in the same footsteps. And so having one son and one daughter, my daughter obviously is not going to be a football player, but she's got her own interests, but she is a good track athlete. So we're hoping that she continues to have a love for the sport, and we'll see. She's got 2 years to go to see if she wants to continue on in college. She has an opportunity talent-wise, and if she can, but it's really her choice. My son, he's just starting to get the football bug. I think he's 14, and he's at the age now where he's done really well in track, and he played football for his school as a middle schooler for the first time, and he did really well. And
Nice.
so now he's kind of gotten the football bug in him.
Now,
So he's starting to look at
running
film.
well.
He's got a fantasy football team. He looks at highlights, and he tries to emulate some of the guys that he sees on Sundays and Saturdays. So we'll see. I'm not trying to put any pressure on him other than to let him know that the ingredients to success are working hard, being a smart player, and enjoying the process every day. So
Is he a running back as well, or what's his position of choice so far?
he is a running back and a defensive back. I was trying to push him to another position, but for some reason the coaches put him at running back. I don't know why, but
Yeah.
I remember watching your daddy. Now, did he pick the same number? Did he at least try to create his own path?
well, he's a number 5, and that was my number in high school and college. So I think all my kids just gravitate toward that number for some reason.
Sure.
A lot worse things they could try to emulate. So
Yeah, for sure.
You were no slouch, Glyn, that's for sure. I mean, obviously, like I said, you lasted for a long time in the league. And like I said, the big thing with you is you carried yourself well. There was never a Glyn Milburn conspiracy theory or, man, that guy was a horrible teammate. I mean, obviously, everybody has always said good things about you. So,
well, I appreciate it. It's a great. The things you remember as a player are not really the games, not really the statistics, but you really remember your teammates because you spend so many hours in practice and meeting rooms, traveling to and from games. So you begin to really, those experiences, when you start to kind of measure out all the hours and time, you're with your teammates more than anyone, even your own family. And so you develop great bonds. In fact, I still talk to many of my teammates to this day that I played with the Bears and the Broncos. And, that's why when a guy like Anthony Lynn becomes the coach of the Chargers, he's looking out for guys in the area who he knows. And so that's a great fraternity that I'm a part of, and I'm very fortunate to have had that opportunity.
was there ever a chance of you getting into coaching at some point, or are you pretty well happy with what?
That's been raiding my mind. I was gonna say that.
I never really had the desire to coach, but I was involved after I retired. I retired in 2002, and in 2003, I lived in Austin, Texas. I lived in Austin for about 9 years. My wife went to the University of Texas, and so I was involved in the Arena Football League. In fact, I was a part of a group that started a team in Austin, and I was the general manager. I did that for about 6 years, where I managed arena football teams. And in fact, one of our teams won the Arena Cup Championship in 2008. And that was as far as I wanted to go with it, just because I had young kids at the time, and I didn't want to have a career where I was going from one city because we lost, too many games, and then having to relocate and reestablish in a completely different city. I wanted to be established in a place where I could come home and see my kids grow up and know they could know where their address was, at least for their younger years. And so, those are decisions that I made at an early age, that I really didn't want to get into coaching, but who knows? Maybe when my kids are out of the home, I may have a different itch to scratch. So
Nice. Let's see. Let's have some fun with you here. Let's put you on the spot. Ready? Favorite teammate?
Favorite teammate, a guy named Reggie Rivers. He was my teammate in Denver. He actually was a media guy for years, during and after. But he was a fellow running back and special teamer who we just hung out all the time in Denver, and he was a great guy. And in fact, when I lived in Austin, he came to visit me, and he's the kind of guy that you knew he was going to be successful, and I like to hang around guys like that.
Okay. Biggest game moment ever in your career?
Biggest game moment, I think I mentioned it already, but it was the game where I was able to set the NFL record for all-purpose yards. It was December 10th, 1995 was the date. It was the Denver Broncos versus the Seattle Seahawks in Mile High Stadium.
Now, do you still hold the record? I'm not
I still hold the record. So it's been a long time. At 25 years now, we're getting close to 25 years. We're getting old. I'm getting old.
Say, holy cow.
Yeah.
Biggest hit of all time that you ever took. Do you remember who gave it to you?
Oh gosh, biggest hit that I ever took. Well, I probably don't remember the biggest hit because I probably was woozy. Let me think. I really wasn't a guy that got a ton of big hits. I don't have an answer on that one because I can't remember one big hit that I got that I remember a game where we were playing, I think my second year in the league, we played in Cleveland Stadium against the Browns, and the Browns and the Broncos had this really evil history from Elway driving down the field and scoring a touchdown in the playoffs to go to the Super Bowl and really curse the Browns, for many years. So whenever we went to Cleveland, it's bad weather, the field's in bad shape, it's just muddy and frozen. And I remember one time I caught a little screen pass and gained some yards and got pushed out of bounds, and I hit my head. This was before they had concussion testing and all that, but I got hit, and I got up, and it was kind of the 2-minute drill, and I got up and I kind of, my teammates picked me up and they kind of pushed me back on the field, and I go back in the huddle, and I don't know what play they called the next, and I had to remember, the next day when we watched the film, I still have no idea what the next play was.
Oh.
But I guess the hit was the ground was the biggest person that hit me.
So would that be your worst stadium ever was Cleveland, or did you have a worse one than that for an experience?
That was the worst experience that I had in the league in terms of getting hit and just not remembering what's going on the next after that.
Okay. Who was the biggest trash talker you ever won against or played with?
Oh gosh. Biggest trash talker. A big trash talker was Charles Haley, who was a defensive end. He played for the Cowboys and the 49ers. And I remember when I was in Denver, we played the 49ers the year they went to the Super Bowl. And he was on the team, and he just, every time we did something or I, ran out of bounds or, I could hear his mouth from their sideline. He was a guy that he was always talking. When I was on the sideline, I could hear him talking to the linemen about how he was going to sack Elway, and he was a big trash talker.
Who is one of the best linebackers you ever faced?
Best linebacker, Junior Seau. We played against them twice a year when I was in Denver, and you talk about somebody who played 60 minutes, ran from sideline to sideline, made literally every tackle for them. And I fortunately got to play with them for a season when I was there in San Diego. And so just a guy, a great linebacker, someone who was a great teammate for the Chargers players for many years. Sad and unfortunate end to his life, but in terms of player, one of the best and probably the best linebacker I ever saw, next to Ray Lewis, who I played with Ray Lewis toward the end of my career, played against him. And again, those two, I wouldn't, other than my own teammate, Brian Urlacher, I wouldn't put anyone close to them.
Okay. Who would be your Let's see, how do I want to phrase it? I'll let Jeff ask one because I'm trying to think of how to phrase it the right way.
Is there anybody in college that you're kind of close to, or like was best buddies with that would kind of know through player standout?
That you guys would know, probably not. So, my roommates in college, I still talk with. In fact, my roommate in college, he started a company, very successful company. I'm on his board of directors, and we talk all the time from a business standpoint. But you wouldn't know who he is because he never played in the NFL. Teammates that have played in the NFL, I mean, I played with John Lynch, general manager for the 49ers.
That guy could hit, man. Oh.
He was a great player. He was a great college player too, and he was a backup quarterback who really you wouldn't have thought this guy's going to be the next Hall of Fame caliber safety.
Yeah.
But every time he got in the game, he would want to run the ball. So you knew he was a big physical guy, and so it made sense after. But for someone like a Bill Walsh or Dennis Green to see the potential in him on the other side of the ball was amazing, and it was like an instant success. He was making big hits and big plays immediately.
What was your off-field moment, whether it be college or professional, something that you got to deal with, like maybe in the community or a fan experience? What was your favorite one that you can remember back in your day?
So again, many of these were in Denver because I probably had my most success there. There was a promotional event where I got to go to a kid's house for their birthday. It was kind of a surprise kind of ambush for a kid. I think he had some type of physical disability, but to me it was great because back then I was a single guy, and I was all about the community. I would do everything. I would go, I would drive 2 hours to do an autograph signing or speak to a elementary school, or and this particular event was something the Broncos had arranged, and there was some kind of contest that people could send in a wish, and for some reason I remember this particular incident where I got to drive. They gave me the address to this kid's house, and I kind of showed up ambushed. They had the decorations, and it was a birthday party, but then I walked in and it was almost like surprise. I just remember the look on the little boy's face, and I always remember that experience because it was neat to be able to have the platform of sports to be able to touch a family in a way that only sports can, right? It was a very little time that I took out of my off day to have lasting memories to a kid who had some unfortunate unfortunate things in his life, the challenges that he had to go through.
Well,
that was my favorite.
What was your favorite road trip memory, or maybe something that happened in the locker room that really stood out to you during your career?
Oh, let me think. Goodness. So many good memories. When I look back, I think of when we went to Foxborough. We went to Foxborough when I was with Denver. Again, this is Denver, but I remember Shannon Sharpe had this ongoing dialogue with the Foxborough fans. And I just remember kind of hearing an earshot, Shannon Sharpe jawing with the entire, first 5 rows of the Foxborough's New England, Boston fan base. And we were having success against the Patriots at that time. And so it was one of those things where I don't hear you now. And he's just egging them on, and they're getting frustrated. And, going into the locker room after a win is always a great thing, because sometimes, very rarely, but sometimes you'll hear, no, no practice tomorrow. Guys, take off. We'll see you Wednesday. And it's like, woohoo. There have been so many, there have been great memories when we clinch a playoff victory. I remember in Detroit, we had to win our last game against the New York Jets to make it to the playoffs, and we were able to win the game. And I remember going into the locker room and everyone's excited and cheering and just thankful they get another week, another paycheck, another chance to advance to the postseason. And then there are also some memories that you remember. I remember I lost a brother later in my career that I remember the team gave me a game ball because I actually played. I found out the day before the game, and Coach Geron had said, we support you if you don't feel up to playing. I said I wouldn't let the team down. I'm going to play. Ended up playing. They gave me a game ball, and that's just a great memory. I still have that ball today. And so, there are all these range of emotions that sports allow you to have, and there's oftentimes too many memories to name just one. So those are a few of them that I can look back on.
Well, that's a tough moment, and yeah, kudos to you for being able to do that. I couldn't imagine where your head is even at during that point.
Yeah.
But let's go on the lighter side of things. What was the best prank that either happened to you or maybe you were a part of that you saw during your career?
So every rookie, at least in my era, had rookie night. And I'm sure you've heard many versions of this event where the rookies to the NFL team that make the team are always tasked with either weekly kind of hazing / obligations that are borderline ridiculous, right? For me as a rookie, I was the only running back, so the veteran running backs made me get them McDonald's breakfast every Wednesday morning. And so, again, I'm a guy that grew up in Los Angeles, never owned a car until I got drafted.
Wow.
And then I go to Denver, Colorado, where I'm driving in the snow to try to go through a drive-through at McDonald's, and my car is swerving around, trying to make it there before meetings start, and just thinking, there's got to be a better way than what am I doing here? But then rookie night that was part of it. But the rookie night is one specific night that the veteran players designate, is where they basically require the rookie, in my case it was me as the running back, to take the other running back outs, pick them up in a limousine, take them to the finest restaurant and entertainment that of their choosing, and then you're stuck with the bill at the end of the night. And I just remember, I was a good guy, and thankfully I didn't have too many wild teammates at that particular year for Denver. And I don't think you can get into too much trouble in Denver compared to some cities, but these guys stuck it to me. I think I had like a $4,000 or $5,000 bill. I know it's, adjusted for inflation, but in 1993, a $5,000 tab for limousine and drinks and food and all tips and all those things that was a big bill to me. So
Texas Roadhouse my senior year, and whenever I saw groups of players come in, man, we knew we were gonna have a good night making tips, because it was like, all right, it's hazing night, got it. I remember Clifton and who else would have been? It would have been Clifton and Tauscher, when both of those guys got hit.
Yes. They like to eat too, I bet, right?
Oh my God, that's a whole offensive line. Yeah, that was a bill. I won't get into their personal business or air it out for them, but yeah, they were maxing out that night. That was for sure.
Definitely.
Speaking of your coach, it was Mike Riley.
Mike Riley, there you go.
I knew it'd come.
Yeah, there you go. So Mike Riley's made a few stops, but I remember him from Oregon State because that was where I remember him when I was in college. It was Oregon State, but yeah.
Well, perfect. Well, I don't want to keep you too much longer. I appreciate you taking the time out. Obviously, you're on the other
Very much.
country there, but yeah, it's been awesome so far, and I'm sure we're gonna have 80 million questions when we're done with this. So I might have to bring you back, sometime down the road. But yeah,
Absolutely, guys.
it's been
Well,
awesome. But want to wish you a happy holidays a little early here, and again, thanks for being on the show. And anytime you have anything you want to promote through us, let us know. Or if there's a charity that you're associated with, you want to give a quick shout out to, we'd love to give you the platform to do that here as well, quick.
absolutely. Well, I do have a couple of things that I'm involved in currently that I would like to bring
absolutely.
to people's attention.
Certainly.
So one of them is called the Matthew Foundation. Each year for the last 5 years, we have hosted a football camp for developmentally disabled men and women and children in the host Super Bowl city. Now, this year is in question because of COVID, but we've done it for the last 5 years, and it's called Superfest. That's the name of the event, and we've done it successfully in every year. And for the last several years, we've gotten a ton of support from the local team, NFL team in the host city. So the MatthewFoundation.org is a great way to find more information about the organization and what they do to help raise awareness and inclusion. And then the other organization is Partners for Potential, which is an organization that provides training and resources for developmentally disabled that allow them to re-enter the workforce. So it trains them to be able to be independent by getting a job, getting a place to stay, giving them interview skills, giving them different resources needed to be able to function in society and independently. And that's called Partners for Potential. So those are two organizations I feel very proud to work with, and thank you for allowing me the opportunity to share those.
Of course.
Definitely. We can definitely put it in a page where we share your video too.
Great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we'll chat. Glenn, I'll send you a message tomorrow off air a little bit, and have you send me some more information, and we'll get the links, and definitely want that to be a part of it as well. So
awesome.
Cool.
All right, guys. Thank you so much, and happy Thanksgiving, happy holidays for you both.
Cool. So that was former NFL running back Glyn Milburn joining us. Jeff, another great guy. Love it.
Yeah, definitely. Just a nice guy. You can tell he's just got a lot of brains there. Definitely from Stanford.
Yeah, Stanford doesn't have a lot of dummies. Another guy, speaking of doing really well in the league, Blake Martinez again, potential to be a Pro Bowl player again this year. So love good stories like that where guys are doing good in the community. And, he took it right with him, the Green Bay lunch pail, and brought it with him to New York. And he's doing awesome out there. I mean, team captain already first year in, and he's doing big things out there. So you got to appreciate that. But yeah, I believe he was another Stanford guy. So some in the water over there, like he says, when they do come out and they do succeed. Like I said, John Lynch, another one, they do quite well.
Yeah, definitely. Certainly.
Richard Sherman being another guy that's had a long NFL career coming out of Stanford, another smart guy, as much as people don't want to believe it. I mean, he's another unrated guy that's very, very intellectual when it comes down to it. So
Andrew Luck, that guy's injuries cut his career short, but definitely smarts there.
Yeah, definitely doesn't shy away from there. But yeah, always fun to have these guys on. Like I said, I think we're going to take the week off next week unless I get something amazing coming out of the woodwork. But we'll take a week off and we'll come back and enjoy the Thanksgiving week. Do you have any big plans for it this year?
Usually just go to the father-in-law's and then maybe hit up Van Abel's on the way back. Nice little place in Hollandtown. Oh, the chicken's amazing there.
Been there. You were the one telling me that, we need to get over there sometime. So
yeah. And their coleslaw. The coleslaw, nothing better. I'm not kidding you.
So we'll have to make sure we send this video over to Van Abel's, send them a bill, let them know that they owe us for this one. a couple free dinners, and uh,
It probably would. They're nice restaurant.
yeah, and it's funny because I used to personal train out in Kaukauna with, we'll say it, Ghost Town Fitness, for a year and a half, and everybody always told me I need to get out there, and I never did. My other client of mine owned the Natrops. They owned Prime Steer Steakhouse in Kaukauna. Man, that was some good food. Loved it. I mean, big old steaks. We took, we had appearance weekend with Tyrone Williams, former Packer DB, and that was one of our stops. And he didn't leave hungry, that's for sure.
That's a good place. We ate there once too, and it's very good food too.
Salad bar is amazing too. It was like all fresh, really good stuff, and they put into it. So a lot of these smaller towns, like I said, you kind of get lucky because you're out in that neck of the woods where you have some pretty good restaurants around there.
Definitely nice little hole in the walls. Definitely.
Well, Jeff, I hit up one of our favorite spots in the house. I don't know if you guys can see this. Popeyes for lunch again today. Green Bay one in and out in 20 minutes today. How's that? So
nice.
It's fun. Honestly, slow down. It was at 11:30, so don't want to give away my secret. But yeah, 11:30. There was hardly anybody there. Come 11:45, when I was just getting ready to get out, it was starting to fill up. So yeah,
definitely a restaurant that has their stuff together is Chick-fil-A. Man, it could be. I'm not even talking food. Like the line could be out to the road, out to the highway. You're in and out in 10 minutes. They got people walking with you. You're getting your order in. You're paying that person, and they just keep you moving. And you don't even get to the drive-through. They got people bringing the food to you, kind of like a Culver's thing. Nice. It's unreal. It's so efficient.
Like a lot of these restaurants now too, they have the faith-based, philosophy built into it. I think it's Popeyes on their trailer today. They had it on. I can't remember the exact Bible verse, but it was kind of cool that their business model incorporates that. So it's cool to see them taking that, bringing kind of faith to the forefront, especially in today's day and age with everything going on right now. It is one of those things I think is important that they bring up a little bit. So it's kind of cool to see that start to hit more into the center culture versus being the taboo topic of, oh my gosh, this business person believes in something. It's like, oh, but if you go to, there's a business there in Kaukauna. I won't put them on blast as far as who it is, but if you look, their entire factory had Trump flags everywhere. All right. What if you were someone that worked there that was a Biden guy? Like, is that a hostile work environment? I mean, how dare you would speak out against it? But the entire plant outside, all along the fence, all the way around the building, I'm sure much to do with inside, was all Trump all day long. So, you kind of got to wonder what the shakedown will be from that, once everything's all said and done here. We still don't know what the heck's going on. I think Trump had till tonight to do the recall. Is he ever going to let it go? I mean, did he fill out his paperwork in time? Or is he going to pull a Kanye? Because we saw what happened to Kanye with a minute late. He got booted off the ballot. So Trump was even a minute late. Does he get his recount here in Wisconsin? Luckily, he's paying the bill. It's weird, and I hate to get into politics, but I think this is interesting. The last election, when they had the recount, it was like $2.2 million. They're saying Wisconsin now it's $8 million because of COVID and then needing more space and all this other junk. It's like, come on, somebody's making money. So just crazy how the world works. I'm so just good to hang out, talk sports, and meet awesome people, and get to see guys like Glyn, week after week, and hang out for a little bit and get away from all that. So,
yeah, definitely.
Let's see, what else do I have for you? So, yeah, we will have our year-end Popeyes / Chick-fil-A taste-off, I think. We'll sit together and blind taste test and see if we can tell the difference between them and see who's best. So.
Well, I want to say good luck to all the hunters this week.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, our buddy that you're trying to set us up with for the show. I know he's probably obviously going to be out there. We got a lot of family, future in-laws are going to be out there as well, and
I'll be out there Saturday.
You're going to hunt? Holy crap!
I'm going with Griff. I'm taking Griff.
Nice. You didn't even take me, you jerk. I see how I rate.
You want to come? You can.
This week I have the kids, but I will definitely get out there during the 10 days with you at some point. That would be cool.
We gotta go up to Crivets, but
That's all right. That's 20. Well, the way I drive, 25 minutes away. But yeah, that'd be awesome. Definitely let me know. Did your dad find land or no?
No, it's we've been hunting public land over there for, I mean, since I was 5, and nobody bought. Like it's weird. It's kind of like our area.
Sure.
Nobody ever goes into it because they know we're there. I mean, it's kind of like a spoken land, I guess. I don't even know how to say it, but it's weird. There's people there's like trails going into different sections of the woods. In each section, there's people that have been there for years. And it's kind of like, okay, that's your part, that's our part, that's your part. We kind of just stay away from each other.
Well, we had Little Beckham's Howard Fire soccer thing. They had an event last week, I think. No, 2 weeks ago now. Yeah, because I have the kids this weekend. 2 weeks ago, they had a cool event over at Capital Park or Capital Credit Union Ballpark, wherever they want to call it. And they had a cool soccer event where they brought in our son Beckham he's on the spectrum for autism. So they have a cool thing through Howard Fire Soccer. I want to give them a big shout out quick. Where they have kids with disabilities playing soccer together. So it's a really cool group. It's set aside specifically for that. They have the other younger players and gals that are part of the program that help mentor these kids and help go through it. So it's one of the awesome, coolest things I've ever been a part of as far as a fan or even helping out from time to time with some drills. But it's really cool to see the care and passion that organization has. So they had some raffles out there, so of course we want to support them. So I won a trail cam, so I'll have to get that out to you soon. Maybe I'll talk to you tomorrow or something about it. But yeah, it would be kind of cool to get out there and finally bag a buck first time out. But even if it's just to get outside, but yeah, it'll be nice. We definitely got a big week next week. Yeah, with Thanksgiving, it'll be cool to sit back, relax, not stress over editing a show, and just enjoy the time with the kids and
watch some football.
Yeah, it should be fun. We got my brother deep fries his turkey. I don't know if you guys still are, but yeah, he deep fries every year, so hopefully he doesn't burn it. And we do on our side. Kylie, my daughter, helps me with the green bean casserole and. What else do we normally do? Squash for my dad. And then I'm a big fan of sweet potatoes, like I like to call them Texas Roadhouse style because they have the caramel all over and then the marshmallows on top.
All right.
It's pretty phenomenal, man. If I were to bring that over, you would never stop eating it, I promise. So It's good stuff. We've been experimenting a lot in the kitchen with funnel cake lately. We've been making our own. So, yeah, it's been an interesting couple weeks with food, but yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so we'll get fat for another week and then take it easy and then hit it out to the home stretch for the end of the year. So not going to announce any names just yet so I confirm some things, but there is a possibility of another Super Bowl champion, one of the earlier generation guys coming on, and
nice.
A great message from him coming up and a few other guys. So I think we'll have some fun, Jeff. It'll be good. So
sounds good.
And then you have some giveaways, I think, coming up. Watch Facebook and Instagram coming up. We got some.
Yeah, but I don't have any. Nobody really responded to that one, so I really didn't give it out. I might just give it to a random person. I don't know here.
Well, we're close to getting to our 1,000 mark. So I think if we can get to 1,000, I'll reach back out to Glenn and a couple other guys, and we still have I think I still have a wall picture we can give away. So maybe we'll do a big prize pack for. If we can get up to 1,000 or a certain number by the end of the year, I think we'll do that. So,
yeah.
Just have to pay attention. You never know what's going to happen on the Sconni Sports Show page, right? Me and Jeff are so random guys. If you aren't paying attention yet, clearly as we're ending the show talking about food and getting fat. I guess that's a Wisconsin thing to do.
Hunting. It is hunting. That's sport.
I did forget to ask Glenn about the fried or regular cheese curds. He mentioned cheese, so I was curious what his take was. So,
nice.
Well, Jeff, you take care of yourself this weekend. Be safe, and we'll chat with you after Thanksgiving's all said and done.
That sounds good.
All right, everyone. Thanks for joining in. Again, a brand new episode of the Sconni Sports Show. I'm your host, MD Lovelace.
Jeff Bryce.
See you soon.